EndNote on Windows, the short course. This overview of EndNote will show you how to use the basic features in EndNote to gather and manage your reference materials, then take those reference materials and create formatted bibliographies in your documents. Create an EndNote library by selecting File, New. EndNote will suggest you name your file My EndNote Library, but that name can be changed. Be sure not to save your library in any cloud syncing folders such as a Dropbox folder or a folder being synced by OneDrive. Syncing tools such as these will corrupt your EndNote library over time. Also, don't save your library to a network drive. EndNote libraries must be kept on your computer's local hard drive. Click the Save button to create the new library, and you'll see a new library window appear on your screen. For the remainder of this lesson, I'm going to use the sample library that's included with EndNote's installation. To find EndNote's sample library, navigate to your Public Documents folder. An EndNote library window shows three main panels, and these panels can be reconfigured using the Layout button in the bottom right corner of the library window. Each of the library panels can be resized. The reference panel shown here on the right will show details about the highlighted references and their attached PDFs. The references you gather will show in a list here in the center of the library window, and default library groups such as the All References and Unfiled group shown here, groups you create for yourself, and groups shared with you through EndNote Online show on the left side of the screen. You'll also find a toolbar atop the library window with shortcuts for some of the more popular EndNote commands. Above the Groups panel, there are three Mode buttons, which control how online search works. The first button on the library toolbar is Local Library Mode. Local Library Mode shows the references and groups in my library. The second button is Online Search Mode. This mode shows a preview window where I can perform an online search and examine my retrieved search results before adding any of them to my library. In the Groups panel, I see a list of favorited online search options. To search databases not listed among my favorites, I can click More underneath the list of favorites. Clicking More brings up a list of all the installed online search files on my computer. Additional online search connection files can be downloaded from our website or added by performing a custom installation of EndNote. Databases showing Library Catalog under the Information Provider heading are generally available to the public. Other databases may require a subscription with the information provider. For this example, I'll be searching the PubMed database from the U.S. National Library of Medicine. I select PubMed from the list, then click the Choose button. The search panel will appear, and the database to be searched will be highlighted in the Groups panel, and the search panel can be resized. I'll select the field in which my search term must be located from the list of fields, then enter my first search term in the first line. If I have more than one search term, I can choose how these terms will be linked together from the drop-down list of available Boolean operators. EndNote always reads a search top to bottom, so if I'll be mixing connectors in the search, I'll obtain the best results by following this order for connecting search terms. If using the OR connector, add it first to broaden the search. Use the AND connector next to narrow the scope of the search. Use the NOT connector last to exclude items from the results. There may be exceptions to this rule, but in most cases, this strategy will return the best results. Clicking the Search button will perform the search, and EndNote will report the number of references found. I click the OK button to import the found references into my preview window. The online references and PubMed groups now show the references that were imported from PubMed. These results are only in the preview library. To add any of these references to my permanent library, I'll highlight or select all the references I want to copy to my permanent library. Then I click the Copy to Local Library button. After copying my references, I click the Local Library Mode button, and now a copied references group is displayed in my library. This is a temporary group showing all the references copied from my online search. The next time I copy references from online search, this group will be overwritten, so I want to start organizing my references now while they're separated out and easy to find. In my online search, I excluded references with the phrase sushi domain, but I will be importing some references with that phrase later. I'd like to set up groups and a group set for my sushi project that will organize references with the phrase apart from references about sushi the food. First, I'll create a group set for the project. Group sets are used to organize groups and can be dragged up or down the screen, allowing me to keep my current projects on top. I select the Groups menu and choose Create Group Set, type in the name of my group set, and press the Enter key. Now I'd like a custom group under my sushi group set to hold every reference I add to my project. To create a custom group, I navigate to the Groups menu again, choose Create Group, type in the name of the new group, and press the Enter key. I select the references I want to add to the Sushi in General custom group, then click and drag them to the group. Smart groups are based on a search strategy and will automatically update, so I wouldn't have to drag the references to a smart group. I select Create Smart Group from the Groups menu and type in the name of my new smart group. I build my search strategy for the smart group, then click the Create button to create the smart group. All references with the term sushi domain will be shown in my new smart group. My sushi domain smart group will automatically update because it's based on a search. I can also create a group that will show me which references are in my Sushi in General group, but not in my Sushi Domain Smart group. This time I navigate to the Groups menu and select Create from Groups. I'll name the combination group. I select Sushi in General as my first group to look at for comparison. Then I select Not from the drop-down list of connectors and pick Sushi Domains as my second group. I click the Create button to create the combination group. As I continue to add references to my Sushi in General group, my Not Sushi Domains group will also be updated automatically. When importing references from a website using my browser, both the database I'm importing from and the browser will affect the process. For examples, I'll import a set of references from the Web of Science core collection using Google Chrome and a set of references from PubMed using Firefox. I perform my search in the Web of Science. Then I can mark the records I want to export or mark no references and instead select a range of references later. I'll choose Save to EndNote Desktop from the drop-down list. And because I didn't select references, I can fill in the range of references I want to import up to a maximum of 500 references. Then I'll select Full Record from the Record Content drop-down list to import author addresses and keywords, as well as the bibliographic data. Note that this Full Record option may not be available if you're not searching the Web of Science core collection. Then I click the Send button. The first time I export from Chrome, I'll press the small arrow on the button that appears in the bottom left corner, then click Open. I select More Apps. This screen may be slightly different in various versions of Windows. I select the EndNote program, then click the OK button. The references are imported into my library and are shown in the Imported References temporary group. Notice that some of the new references are already shown in the Sushi Domains group. When I select and drag the imported references to the Sushi in General group, the Not Sushi Domains group also updates. At PubMed, I perform my search, this time in Firefox. I could then mark the references I want, or not mark any of the references if I want all of the references or a range of them. I click the Send To link, then choose Citation Manager. I'll select the number of citations to send and the citation number to start with, then click Create File. The first time I use Firefox to import from a database, I'll see this window. I'll proceed with the export by clicking Open With, then Browse, then the EndNote program. I click the OK button. The references are automatically imported into the Imported References group, and you might have noticed that the Sushi Domains group is automatically updated. Once more, when I select the imported references and drag them to the Sushi in General group, the Not Sushi Domains group is also automatically updated. When importing PDFs, I can import a single file or a folder of PDFs. For this example, I plan on importing a folder of PDFs. I want to navigate to File, Import, Folder. I'll press the Choose button to locate and select the folder containing my PDF files. Note that my example has a subfolder. I click the OK button to choose the selected folder. And to include the subfolders, I'll mark the box Include Files in Subfolders. I'll leave the duplicates option set to Import All because EndNote will try to identify existing records in my library that match the PDFs. If EndNote identifies a match, EndNote will attach the PDF to the existing record instead of creating a new record. I click the Import button. EndNote searches the first 2 pages of the PDF and the metadata for a DOI, a Digital Object Identifier. If EndNote finds one, it sends that DOI to PubMed and Crossref. These databases look up the reference information, send the data back to EndNote. EndNote imports the data, then attaches the PDF. Note that not all PDFs will be importable. The best results will be from publisher-created PDFs. Any PDFs without DOIs and scanned PDFs will not be importable. Once again, I'll drag the newly imported references to my Sushi and General group. EndNote can also find PDFs for me. First, I'll have to select the records I want EndNote to find matching PDFs for. Then select Find Full Text from the References menu, and Find Full Text again from the submenu, or click the Find Full Text button. Under the Find Full Text group at the bottom of the Groups panel, EndNote displays the status of its search. When it finishes, there may be up to 3 groups of results. References that EndNote found and was able to import, references that EndNote was unable to download a PDF for but found a link that appears to be for a PDF and downloaded that link into the URL field of the library record, and references that EndNote was unable to find anything for. To read or annotate a PDF in EndNote, click the Open PDF button to open the PDF in a larger window. I have annotation tools such as a highlighter and sticky notes to mark up my PDF. When I'm finished working with the PDF, the Open PDF button has now become a Close PDF button to let me close the PDF and save my changes. You can customize PDF handling and find full text settings in EndNote's preferences. Let me now switch to the Preview tab to show how my references will be formatted in the bibliography. I've selected the APA 6th style in EndNote. References formatted according to that style should show the full journal name, but I see that some of my previews show abbreviations while others show the full name. I want EndNote to consistently output the journal names within my formatted bibliography and use the journal's full name. EndNote can do this if I set up a journal's term list, which acts as a lookup list for the different versions of the journal name. I start by selecting Tools, Open Term List, then Journals Term List. This existing list of terms has been built from the records I've imported to my library, and differing data formats provided by various information providers has mixed up the name formats within these columns. Which column a name is in will depend on the database the original record was imported from. First, I'll have to clean out this list by selecting all the items in the list and clicking Delete Term. This action won't change any of the records in my library. Then I go to the Lists tab and select Import List. In the EndNote Terms Lists folder, I find a set of lists included with EndNote, and I import the list that best matches my area of study by selecting it and clicking the Open button. EndNote reports how many journals were imported, and I click the OK button to proceed. And when I return to the Terms tab, I now see a list of journals with the full names and abbreviations in the correct columns. I can press the Close button to close the term list. Now when I examine the preview window with the APA style selected, I see that all my journal names are showing the full name. And this is how the journal names will appear in my bibliography. I'm now ready to start working with my references in Microsoft Word. I'll place my cursor where I want to add a citation and click in the top part of the Insert Citation button. I can search my EndNote library or a group shared with me in EndNote Online from within Word using the Insert Citation button. On the Find and Insert My References window, I enter a word or a set of words that are in the record I want to locate. For this example, I'll search for all records containing the words tool and use, but I could also search for an author name or a keyword. I've entered the search terms, then click the Find button or press the Enter key. EndNote searches all open libraries and brings up a list of records that contain the search terms. At least one library must be open in EndNote for EndNote to search for matching references to cite. At the bottom right of the window, I see the number of records found. When I select a reference in this list, I see the details of that reference in the lower part of the window. To insert a reference in the paper, I select a reference or references and click the small arrow on the Insert button to see options for formatting citations. I select my preferred option from the drop-down list. The references are inserted in my paper, and the citation and bibliography are instantly formatted. Another way to add references to my paper is to select them in the EndNote library, then insert them in my Word document using a combination of the Go to EndNote command and the Insert Citations command. Once more, I'll place my cursor where I want to insert a citation, then click the Go to EndNote button. This command takes me to the EndNote program and displays the active library. I select a reference or set of references to insert. With the reference selected, I click the Insert Citation button on the EndNote toolbar. I'm now taken back to Word, and the references are inserted at the cursor location. Let me try that once more. I place my cursor where I want the new reference. I go to EndNote, select my reference, then click the Insert Citation button. Once again, the bibliography and citation are instantly formatted. I can access the Configure Bibliography command by pressing the small arrow at the bottom right of the bibliography group. The first tab, Format Bibliography, allows me to select the bibliographic style to be used in my document from a drop-down list. This favorites list contains the styles I've used before, along with several of EndNote's most popular output styles. If I want to add a new style to this list, I select the Browse button to bring up a list of the styles installed on my computer. I'll find the style I'd like to use from the list, for this document, APA 6th. I can click OK to close the window. From this tab, I can also set citations in the document to be hyperlinked to the matching references in the bibliography. I can choose if the citation hyperlinks will be underlined with a blue font. The APA style also requires double spacing for my bibliography, and I'd like to add a title above the bibliography. The Layout tab will allow me to change these formatting options. On the Layout tab, I can select the font and the font size that'll be used for my entire bibliography. I can add a title such as Reference List. If I want to format that title differently from the rest of my bibliography, selecting the title's text, then clicking the Text Format button will let me add a font effect to just the title. If I were using a numbered style, the Start with Bibliography Number option would let me start my bibliography with any number I wanted. However, this numbering option doesn't apply to footnotes. Word itself controls the numbering of footnotes. If your formatting guidelines require footnote references, first insert the footnote using Word, then insert the EndNote citation into the footnote. First line indent will change the indentation of the first line of each reference. Whether or not there is a hanging indent is set in the output style itself, but in this window I can change how wide that hanging indent will be. The line spacing option will apply to all the text in the bibliography, and here I'm going to change my setting to double to match the APA requirements. The Space After option allows me to add extra blank lines after each reference. These blank lines would be in addition to the spacing set using the line spacing option above. When all options are set, I click the OK button to apply the changes. Formatted citations contain hidden field codes, indicated here by the gray shading, and if I try to delete text from a formatted citation or type directly into it, those changes will disappear the next time the bibliography updates. The correct way to edit citations is to use the Edit and Manage Citations command. For the citations in my paper, I'll make the following changes. For one, I'll omit the author's name because it's been used in the preceding sentence, and add page numbers. For the grouped citation, I'll remove a citation from the group. I begin by clicking the Edit and Manage Citations button. I select the citation from the list in the upper part of the window. In the lower part of the window, the Reference tab will show the details for that EndNote record, so I can be certain I'm working with the correct reference. The Edit Citation tab will let me edit the citation. To remove an author's name from a citation, I select the citation from the list. Then select Exclude Author from the Formatting drop-down list. In the Pages field, I'll add the page number for this citation. Please note that the Pages field isn't configured for use in all EndNote styles and may not work for some styles I might use, but the prefix and suffix fields will always work. In the suffix field, I'll add comma space table 2, just as an example of how the field works. With the prefix and suffix fields, I must include any additional spaces or punctuation marks. The changes I'm making are only for this particular citation. If I cite the same reference elsewhere in the document, EndNote will show the default information for that citation with none of the customization shown here. For the grouped citation, I want to remove the reference by von Bern. I select the reference to be removed and choose Remove Citation from the drop-down list at the right. When finished, I click the OK button to display the changes. In my first example, you no longer see the author's name in the citation, and you now see a page number and a suffix. The former grouped citation no longer shows the von Bern reference. Before I started using EndNote on the desktop, I had created an EndNote online account through the Web of Science, and I have a small library of online references. I'd like to now use EndNote Sync to synchronize the online and desktop libraries so I can access my references anywhere. To initiate this action, I click the Sync button in the toolbar. I enter the email address I'm using for my EndNote online account and my password. Then I click the OK button. EndNote authorizes my account but pauses to tell me this is the first time I have synced a library on this computer and suggests I create a backup first. I'll click the Yes button. EndNote will suggest using the same name for the backup library as the original name, but adds a .enlx extension to show that this is a compressed or zipped file. Click the Save button. EndNote copies all the references and groups in my online library to the desktop, and all the references and groups in my desktop library to online, but only the custom groups will appear online. If I sync my online library to a second computer, all the groups and group sets would appear on the second computer, even though they don't appear online. When configuring sync on a second computer, always start by creating a blank library to sync down to. Doing so will help you avoid duplication of your library content. After my first sync, any change I make in any of my synced libraries will be mirrored to all my other synced libraries. This means if I delete references or attachments online, they'll be deleted from my synced desktop libraries as well. I now have an EndNote library I can access from anywhere using a web browser, or I can work with it on the desktop. Note that I can create a backup of my EndNote library at any time using the File Compressed Library command.